Good morning, everyone. I'm Phillip, if you haven't met me before, and today we've also sort of got Jim. We're taking a couple of different changes with some of the FAQ hours from now on. So Jim and I are going to be a bit of a duo. Some of us you've seen probably in some of the demos in the past, regardless. So I'm the National Sales Manager for Australia and New Zealand, and Jim is our sort of global strategic guru, as we like to do it, and he does a lot. He does a lot with some various enterprises, enterprise customers and the like. Breeze sits in the corner and helps us out there, especially if I'm missing any of the questions that come up. We're going to go through a couple of different bits and pieces today with some of the new attributes that have been added into the system. Please do not be shy of adding some questions in there for us to help answer. We find quite a lot of the time we get a real mix of customers who have joined us recently, and also a few customers that have been on the app for a wee while, and we can blow a few minds sometimes with some things that you may have remembered or forgotten, and we'll get kicking along soon. I'll get my screen started. Just got a couple more dribbling in now. So questions will come in at the Q&A pile there. You put them in. I'll remind myself to read them out in public, so then we know what's going on. The last FAQ hour, I started randomly answering answers for everyone, but without knowing the questions, me thinking you guys could see the questions coming up. So I've got that. Our screens today are being recorded as well. So if you wanted to catch up on that on our YouTube channel later on, you're more than welcome to. Okay. So sharing a page here, a familiar page for many. Most recently, as we've transitioned away from going straight from the global high-res imagery map into the map mode. A lot of that was being done by request from clients, especially if they're circling around particular areas or regions, as opposed to using some of the high-res imagery. You know, getting that real ability to look at streets directly, especially if they're unsure of an actual street number or you're being guided by the client directly itself. We've got our search bar up here. Of course, everyone's pretty familiar with our search bar. But one of our newest features for us with the searching is that ability to search by suburb now. Okay, so if we're really trying to hone in on an area, I'm just going to pick on Doonside because I just think that is one of the strangest suburb names ever. But you get that ability to go straight into Doonside as an area or a group, and then hone in on a particular area or zone to get in there. So pretty handy for some new estates, or if you're kind of trying to figure out a particular zone or region, but that was something that was very, very much being asked upon. It also saves on your searches. So in the past, some of the customers were sort of getting close to an area where they thought that the number was there. We'll call it 21 Jump Street, and you could have 21 Jump Street chase up, but you were actually chasing number 6. You didn't want to blow off 2 searches by doing that. So being able to do here, you know, finding that particular street in mind, so Kildare Road, and then moving across, being able to then wave over some of the objects to then highlight which particular lot you wanted, and then being able to sort it out from there. So I think that is an amazingly cool feature. I know we're running fairly biased when it comes to the app, being that I work for the group, but I think that this is a really handy tool. So being able to see that it was 56 that we wanted to search as an example here in Doonside. Alrighty, so I'm going to take you to an address that I've been working on previously. I wanted to pick this one in particular because, you know, last session I was in Queensland, New South Wales, and I thought I'd take this moment to sort of jump around the states. And so maybe next month we'll pick somewhere in WA or Victoria. We'll pull a name out of a hat and then roll from there. So the reason I wanted to pick this particular site is, you know, we're lucky enough to obviously have quite a lot of data in this particular area here in Brisbane. We're quite fortunate that a lot of the data in Queensland is digitised. For us to be able to use in the various layers there. We can tell here the lot number and the land zoning. We could also know that there's some acid sulfate soil above the areas there with the areas affected over there. So what are some of the problems that we need to feature here. Brisbane's can be quite specific in some areas when it comes down to things like heritage and building character. You know, if it's a street full of Queenslanders, you know, that idea has to remain in place. Stuff like that. And of course, it's not too far away from the Brisbane River there. So, you know, as we zoom out there, if you needed to get an idea of how far away that was, you could always absolutely use our measuring tool. Okay, so we tend to find from an ocean point of view or anything like that. If you're worried about salt or effects accordingly, you can double click there. The beautiful line comes up there, and we know that we're just shy of 1 kilometre inland from there. So if that's something that you needed for some of the reports or council requirements, you know, using the measuring tool, not just from that, the pool guys accordingly use it to swing in for crane heights, in for fiberglass pool shells or concrete pool shells accordingly, frames and so on and so forth. So we've got that sort of information, of course, there. Another bit of information that I wanted to sort of talk to you around was that ability to change the, sorry guys, is the annotation tool. I did talk about that last time. I know some of these features are pretty hard and fast, but I just wanted to make sure that we did that. I'm just going to reset that side. Using our favorite reload tool if it does all go a bit array. So up here was a feature that I wanted to talk about. So this is our boundary set rules. So in the past, we've been able to grab a corner, you know, and physically move it to line it up with the imagery, because as we mesh various imagery providers, sometimes that image is just a little bit skewed to actually where the land detail goes, and so you guys can line up that sort of information. So, you know, for us, you know, by using this format here, you can absolutely move the frame around to line it up where it should line up. In this case, we're not going to do that. However, we're very, very aware that in some cases, especially in some of the newer neighbourhoods, that we've got these factoring when we're trying to be ultra specific into a land zone. So the reality is a pegged out zone in sometimes a new estate might be the real world is at 16.13, but what it's showing on the map is 16. So we just want to make it easier for the client. We want to be able to express that. So we can highlight it using our little pencil function and then just alter it. Okay, and then hit the enter button. And now we've altered that factor so that is now 16. So that's adjusted in. So again, we could do that on all the 4 different points, but I wanted to absolutely show that newer feature because that's something that's absolutely been called upon by many of our clients about being able to change it, you know, and do it simply. So for us, that real sort of factorization, the really easy sort of ability to see some of these buttons, because as part of our roadmap going into being able to be used with mobile devices like phones and tablets, you know, we need to get some of those fatter looking buttons so you guys can easily push hard and grab them in there. Have I got any questions popped up so far on that? I've just sort of had my face looking left when I should have probably been looking at everyone else.
All good, Phil. I'm keeping an eye on it as well.
Perfect, 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 perfect. Alrighty, so we've got the ability to do this now. I did really touch on it because we just only laid it out the other day, but in the last FAQ, so it literally had launched. I'm just going to put in a design. If any of you have ever done a demo with me, you'd be very familiar with this particular house, the Orlando 28. But it's one of my favorites. And probably one of the few that would fit on this particular site, although probably wouldn't work with some of the Queensland rules regarding the Queensland policy in that slots here. So the guys, as you're pretty familiar, obviously in a lot of the cases we're going to have the rules pop up for your shed, your pool, your house. But of course, sometimes the rules, if there's a varying factor in that one part, you know, we're using a lot of artificial intelligence to get some of that, and a lot of that's been loaded in. But if you do get a funny little block, and you know for certain that you know the front setback isn't 3 meters on this particular area, but it was 4 meters, you can actually go in and adjust that. Now I did sort of show that the other week, but I didn't save it. but you could put that in as 4. You know, we could be quite, you know, change these to say 1.5 as an example, and we could make the rear setback 6. Okay, so it's 6 because of an easement or something like that you're aware of a funny little rule that wouldn't get picked up on an overlay. So now what you want to be able to do here is save it, and then the option of here is, you know, request this change to be made permanently, and or is it just going to be done for now? We're just going to do it for now, and then it will adjust. I think there we go. So everything will adjust it in there. So you will see the 2 side setbacks went to 1.5, the front went to 4, and of course the rear went into 6. Okay, so you guys can adjust those where it's there or not. Of course, if you wanted to start a new draft, you guys know how to go up into our little filing cabinet up here, plonk it out, and then you draft it. Okay, another one that I know Jim and I always seem to touch on is reminding ourselves, once we've done heaps of work on here, you can also copy the package to then start a new one. So if you were changing your house but you wanted to leave the driveway in place, or any of the other information or some of the annotation work, you don't want to have to go back through and do it again. I know some people go into autopilot and go straight into new draft, and then they're faced with needing to spend an extra 10 or 15 minutes redrawing it. I know it's not a long time, but if you've already spent maybe 5 or 10 doing it, and you just wanted to make a quick 2-minute change, whether it was a house and land flyer or giving that customer a bronze, silver, gold version of a particular dwelling, or changing it from a single to a double, etc., 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 you want to be able to do that quickly and simply. Alrighty. Any questions still being monitored from that? Cool. Alrighty. So we're going to talk about some textures. So there's been a fair bit of work. Accordingly, this is Phil going to be doing a very, you know, loosely mocked up driveway. I'm fully aware that the current driveway is in a completely different location, guys. But we want to left click once we've got our polygon and the featuring tools up to either edit the object. Okay. So again, we left click once we've finished editing. So if I wanted to, you know, bring that out and make it a bit funky and wild, we can do that. And then we can lock that in back again by hitting the edit button. I know this isn't a lesson, it's an FAQ hour, but sometimes that's one that always gets me in the middle of a demo. Now we've had these, you know, texturalization patterns and elements in here for quite some time. We've been talking about textures, and I did textures last time, but we've been able to be working on that in the background. So we've got a variety in there, including some soft surfaces and all sorts of bits and pieces, but we'll concentrate on concrete for now. If I go to concrete, we have a variety of patterns coming up. If you don't have these popping up in your own system, I want you to reach out to your account manager and ask for them. Okay. I'll also show us to, but here we've got some really good changes in some elements to get some real realism in there using photogrammetric imagery. The scaling is starting to get a lot better now. And I really think that you can really sort of sell a bit of the sizzle within part of that. And I think, you know, make it a bit more of a standout than just drawing a nice old, you know, polygon. I mean, don't get me wrong, having the polygon tool there is phenomenal, but I think that real ability to demonstrate this is great. And then on top of that, you know, making sure you're adding your annotations. You know, what is a worthwhile tool for somebody to have in there? So I've got that blinking out for a second, but so you need to talk to somebody. Let's go up to the admin page. Sorry, help page. Look at Phil have a shocker. Okay, so you want some help. So you need to get some training sorted out, whether we're new or old. So I really would like to see some of the guys who have been on for a while, who are feeling fairly current, get in there and get some stuff organized in there. Again, another big one for us is feedback. Talking to our account managers to give us some feedback is great, positive or constructive. You know, we need both, because a lot of the changes that we make are improvements done because of feedback that you guys are in the trenches every day, sort of figuring a lot of this stuff out for us. We kind of know what some of the tools are, but we need to be guided by you guys as well. So massive improvements have sort of taken place because of, you know, a lot of the feedback that's sort of done from within that spot. So we've got the textualization, we've got the help that I know that we've needed to cover off on there. But yeah, like I said, guys, if you don't have those tools, I'd love you to reach out to your account managers and ask for them, and we can quickly and effectively load them in there. And or at least show you how to do it. So if you had your own ideas or items that you wanted to go in there specifically, we can get that. And make sure that you're getting shown from that. Any questions from there?
Still none, Phil. Can you
Jimmy, you're on mute.
No, it should be off. Am I good?
Yep, you're good.
Cool. Maybe if you can just re-show the flip function as well.
Yep.
We've moved some of the functionality for those that missed.
Yes, the day we launched it, did send a bit of a flurry out there without explaining it to all. So, but we've got the home here now. So where we had a lot of the tools that were engaged up onto this right-hand column, and you will have seen that this is all been cleaned up with spots not missing now. Again, as we're going into that mobile, into that world of mobile to make it a little bit easier to use, we can left click on our item and then bring up that little spring form. So these are, again, items where we have that flip function to be able to go backwards and forwards. Our structural elevation tool. This side is pretty flat in a lot of areas, but up in that left hand corner, it gets quite busy. Okay, so you can see it's quite a busy little page to be showing a client when you've got all of those sort of easements running around all over the place. Another factor that I wanted to sort of talk about is depending on how new or old you've been within the team or partnered with us, we used to have a finished floor level recently that used to sit in the middle, and you would adjust it from the middle and it would move the points around. Based on some feedback that we've had, we've actually gone back to a feature that we used to have before, where we used to have the independent 4 points talking about it, and that adjustment leveling off from there. So that ability to show that, and then adjusting up into the corner, people just were really begging for that. So we did take on that into consideration and then move this. It's faster and more effective, and a bit better of a way for our customers to explain it. So again, another great example of some feedback moved in there. So A being at the natural ground level, and then adjusting the other 4 points to sort of match what's going on into there. So if that's a feature that you haven't encountered before, or you kind of forget to turn it on or what, it's a great one to have.
And
I really
on that, if you click on the A's and B's and C's, it will bring up your NGLs, and perfect.
So no, great given corner. And look, imagine your customer actually doesn't know what you're talking about, because the likelihood is that's very, very true. So, this is a customer facing tool for everyone to be able to use to basically get that information out there, So I think it's important that you can talk about what a finished floor level is and natural ground level, and why it's going to be that, So even two-dimensionally, your customers can get a really good sense of what's going on. You're not making it up. Here are these magical lines that have mysteriously appeared. Okay, because that's what the actual ground is. You haven't invented stuff. You're absolutely there to physically help them out there. So and annotations, again, guys, I really, I think that these are an absolute blessing when it comes to generating site plans, and or if you've got customers who want really, really detailed information, it's a quick and simple way to have it come up there. So when you're generating your site plan, it will come up in the legend. Okay, so even if it was, remodel kitchen as per, drawing that the customer supplied to you, or gave you the idea of, you can have them in there, and it just sits in there with those other annotations that I had here. If you've forgotten one, or you want to delete one, delete them, get rid of them. And I'll, with that will mean they will, because they're numbered, they'll automatically go back and reset into the one place. Okay, so I've been able to cover off that. I've done some annotations, which is phenomenal. You guys know how to do your setbacks now, or change any of your various setbacks, or alternatively edit a boundary line. I just wanted to take you into our additional info toggle. So this is where a lot of the data or overlays can sort of sit out here. Okay, so Again, based on some feedback, we've got the ability to turn on and off our joined drawings. So depending on you generating your site plans or you're using the 3D functionality, you'll notice that the wire basket or the building frames have appeared around a variety of the other homes here, which of course, you know, the waving over there, we can edit any given one of them to really make sure that they're accurate. I mean, you've got to remember that we're using some AI that's literally, you know, forming this info, and it's a lot harder on whiter roofs compared to darker roofs. And in Queensland, we've got a lot more white roofs, of course, and you can edit it to really get that film right. But with that additional info too, some feedback was basically making sure we could turn off the building function within the property itself. Okay, so if you're just wanting it nice and clean, or you're trying to work around a particular dwelling. So for some of our landscapers, they kind of wanted this, and some of our patio guys. So you can see here, I've just started a new draft. This is us looking at the block for the very first time. You know, they wanted that ability to turn off that building straight away in here. So they're just using that aerial imagery. Okay. Accordingly, if you're working really, really close to the fence or anything like that, and you feel that this line here is interrupting you, you can actually now turn off the lot boundary as well. So we are leaving still the lengths around the lines because I think that that's an important feature. However, we have just in the next couple of weeks, we'll have the ability to also turn off the numbering as well. So if you just wanted a quick snapshot, you can, you know, have everything off, and then you can just basically go and, you know, make a snapshot. It'll save as a JPEG, and then go accordingly. So you don't have to use your old cut and snip. It was actually funny doing some auditing in the background, you know, Tim and our chief technology officer, you know, getting some interesting data about how many site plans were being done and how many quotes were being drafted up and how many snapshots. It was, you know, I'm quite a big one on the old, you know, cut and snip. I did not realize how many of our customers use the taking a map snapshot. I was absolutely like blown away by how many people take it. So that's so they are some of those features there. So if you wanted to then obviously turn off, you know, any blue measurements that you had in there, any of the setbacks, you know, I've turned a lot of the information that's off here. Any of the drawing areas, you have that real ability to do that now. They will generally always preset on a per site job straight back to what you had, you know, what would normally be original. So just be mindful, new job, new site, you might want to go in and turn off that data if that's relevant to you. Any questions? Compared to my last FAQ, I had them booming at me. Either I'm answering them really well, or I've put everyone to sleep with my monotone voice.
Maybe go back into one of your other drafts on here and just show the plan options again as well, Phil. And also, I think the proposal piece might be a good time, since we've got a bit of time, just to touch on the proposal and what can be built into that.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's a really big one too. If anyone who's been with us for a while,
everyone who's seeing it is just going, wow.
Yeah. Us effectively, you know, starting to present it again in our into our demos. They love it, but you know, we've got to, you know, some people I think freak out about how hard it is sometimes to do some of this stuff, because it's all too easy. Well, it is kind of pretty easy to generate and create, and I definitely urge you guys to get some training if you specifically need some help. In fact, you know, Jim and I are having a meeting today with a large enterprise customer specifically about building proposals and information like that into the widget side of it, because of how effectively it can sort of speed up you know, the route to a sale, because it doesn't matter if it's a pool or a shed or a house. You know, you guys have got to definitely try and use this tool as that sales function, not just an operational function, but that sales function to help funnel and channel the sales as faster. If you can have your customers in front of the items, physically see it, understand it a lot better, then, you know, the times of the old, and when I mean times of the old, I mean really, you know, the last 2 or 3 years where this information wasn't easily, you know, sortable to get. You know, you basically can change part of your process if you haven't already. If you've adopted it, that's great. But, you know, to change that process, to really not get complacent and then have some of the customers make the decision. I mean, honestly, if you can have your item like here, you know, you can see the cutback and fill, and the customer said, I really want it as close as I can to here, but you know, that number's going to change. If they bring it over here, it's actually going to be more expensive. They wanted to have it over here because they want to get the caravan down. I'm just using this as an example, guys. Well, you can go, guys, it's actually going to be a little bit cheaper if we have it here. Hey, if you want it over here to get the caravan, completely understand. Just want to let you know that your site costs are going to increase by X, Y, Z to allow for that. Are you guys mentally prepared for that? Yeah. Okay, cool. Okay. They've made that decision. You know, you'll find that that will effectively help you guys in part of that journey. All right. Anyway, sorry, I can rabbit on. So floor plan options is another one. You might have some base house plan you know, designs, and this could also work in the shed space as well. Okay, and that's a really big one that I want to think about as we're talking to quite a lot of the module building guys or tiny home characters, where we've got that same structural you know, rectangle. Even if it is that just that nice easy basic rectangle, you can have a variety of different options that can go into that rectangle, and you can switch them on in and out. So I'm going to use this house design because this is what we've got preloaded, but that a real ability, and again, if you've been in a demo of mine, you will have been very, very familiar with this, but that ability to overlay that additional bedroom in here as an example, as a grand guest room. Now, using our quoting tool, we've already got that precast, pre-formulated. Okay, so adding that additional item is added into the quote. Okay, so that floor plan option for the grand guest room is $55,000. Now, you can now see that the plan has changed. Now, all of a sudden, the cut and the fill would have also adjusted because this has changed to a point in that in that corner. Okay, so again, helping you effectively kind of work out some of that data. Again, back to the design. Is this my Zoom? I think it's my Zoom. Have I locked up everyone?
No, we
Okay.
try to go to Phil. Hit the arrow back. No.
Fine, Adam. So back into the floor plan options, grand guest room, and of course it's in Queensland, so I definitely want my grand alfresco, wouldn't I? So again, that addition adding there, the corners moved into this corner here. You know, lucky this block is, you know, I've turned off some of the noise, guys. Okay, but you kind of get where some of the contours are, if that's still the question, or you've just joined us late. But that ability to do that. Now, I'm not sure some of you guys are using the flyer service and stuff like that, but that ability to, you know, generate a flyer on the spot. I just want to make sure I've picked a facade because it's important that we have that. Works great with a tiny home or an auxiliary dwelling, or even, you know, the hero shot of a shed. So I really want you guys to sort of think about some of those varying factors. If you had a rectangle and you have kitchen version A, B, or C, let's get them in there. If you want some help with some of that drafting to get that done, you know, if you've got a internal architectural team, awesome. If you have that outsourced, if you want to look at sort of saving some money within that, our team in the marketplace can help you with some of those options if you want to, and get them in there quickly and succinctly. You guys can then price them and then put them in there accordingly. So even if it was a case of you've got, you know, the rectangle like the module home, and you had sliding door version or stacking version or whatever, you can overlay those in there and have them automatically put in there. You know, at the end of the day, a house is a series of boxes, as we all know, guys. So it's just a case of sometimes adjusting those boxes to suit what our clients or your customers require. So we can go to our services and generate that flyer on there. So when you've got these floor plan options in there, it's automatically going to change, the marketing brochure that's going to be provided in there. When we go to docs, it should be sitting there nice and ready for us to go, because they are generated pretty well instantaneously. But the data that's in there is that Positano facade that we had there before. And again, see those two floor plan options that have been generated in there. So they're automatically in there. There's not too many marketing programs that would do that without you having to layer on a whole new image about what you're trying to do pre-existingly. And so if you're trying to roll these out at a home show or a trade show, or in front of a client, or in a display home, or quickly go through because you get 100 quotes a week, however that looks like, I think that this might be a really, really great option for you guys to consider. If you need some help absolutely reach out to your account managers. Love to sort of see how that might work out, because, you know, your success is part of our success. I think I've pretty well got everything that I was told that I needed to make sure I covered off on the FAQ. So I don't know, you may or may not have noticed, you know, Tim got pretty excited. It was around middle of last month, we were able to do some performance upgrades in the back end of the system now. So I think you would find that the system overall is operating significantly quicker, and getting rid of some of the bugs and some of the drama that can come around using any application for that matter. So I've been pretty happy with the way and the speed that most things have been happening and operating now. Again, as we keep adding more and more things into the big beast that is sort of can I build, it's important that we go back and make sure that we you know, service the engine, get it all lubricated and rocking and rolling the right way as far as an application is concerned. So I'm going to invite any sort of last questions here.
Just in the chat function, guys, Q&A.
So depending if you can see my screen or not, so down here is where they're at. If not, my deep monotone voices put them all to sleep. Well, if you're too afraid to sort of ask a quick question or a chat, feel free to email your account manager and or have a chat, or if you've been directly dealing with us, awesome. Always happy to hear from people who are have been onboarded through that, and we might wrap it up from here. If any of you had to drop out, or you know of some other people within your team that some of this information would be suitable to, it's absolutely going to be out there on the World Wide Web through YouTube, probably within the next couple of hours after Bree makes sure and I haven't sworn too often in any part of the demo, and then we can go from there. David, it was an absolute pleasure to sort of give you the information on that update. I hope they're effective, effectively some good changes there, and you know, we've really cemented through a really good roadmap for the rest of this year as well. Some of that stuff is stuff that we will be able to roll out as we've done it, you know, and yeah, I'm looking forward to actually over the next 3 months, some of the some of the changes that we've made through. I felt like Porky Pig just then. Alrighty, I'll wrap it up from here. Have an amazing rest of the week, everyone. We look forward to seeing you on the next FAQ hour, the first Thursday. That is definitely going to be the first Thursday. Technical issues last week, which was me. But yeah, first Thursday next month, in the month of June, as we wrap up for the end of financial year. Alrighty, say goodbye to everyone. Goodbye, everyone.